Fellow DIYers, welcome to Sisterwood DIY. My name is Dana and this is my next flip. So I got this off Facebook Marketplace for free. It was an advertisement for some free furniture that was just left out by a dumpster by a retirement community. And so I went and picked up a couple items, and as you can see, it needs some work. So it was left out in the rain and it's missing a drawer right here. So I was really bummed about that because I love the piece. It's a very traditional mid-century modern piece. So I've been racking my brain trying to figure out how I'm going to make this look really cool and restore it to its natural beauty. So what I think I've come up with some help from my daughter is I think I'm going to turn it into a media center. So I'm going to take out the top drawers and build a shelf on top. So I really don't know how I'm going to tackle this, so you're along for the ride on this one. So first thing I'm going to do is give it a good clean and take off the hardware, say hello to my dogs, and the finish is failing on it, so I'm probably going to have to use a carbide scraper to get that off. But I'm excited to see how it turns out, so stay tuned till the end to see what it looks like and how I transform this beautiful piece of furniture. All right, so here's a closer view. It's filthy dirty. You can see all the gunk in it. The finish is failing. You can see this is down to the wood and the finish is just chipping off of it. And then we're missing a drawer, which I'm super sad about because I was so excited about it and then couldn't find the drawer. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a good clean. Most important step of any flip. And then I'm going to tackle seeing how to build it into a media center. All right, time to clean. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the drawers and the hardware and see how I need to build a shelf in this. All right, I got my simple green here. It's just my concentrated lemon. And then I just use a scrub brush for the ones that are really bad. And actually the actual top in the inside is just dusty. The top's failing, but it's not filthy. The drawers are pretty gross. Okay, so I had my husband come help me turn this over, and now I'm just taking the feet off. I want to keep these, the natural wood for sure. All right, so I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to tackle putting this a shelf here, but I know for sure I have to take these tracks out. So I'm going to take the tracks out first. And of course they're flathead screws because this is old. So they take some finessing to get out. I'm also going to take out these little, they look like tacks, but they're actually like drawer guides that they used to use. All right, so I've removed all that. So now I have to figure out how I'm going to manage to do this. So I think I'm going to put these drawers in so that I can make sure whatever shelf I make will come out far enough to hide the top of the drawers. So I want to make sure that it comes out a little bit farther, I think, than this drawer. So this middle one sticks out a little farther. So this is going to be an issue. I'm gonna have to probably bring it to right. I don't know I'm gonna be able to do that. I might have to do a shelf that comes, I'll have to do a shelf out to here, and then this one will come out a little farther so that it'll cover that. All right, so it's early in the morning. I've been thinking on this all night, trying to figure out what I'm going to do, because first of all, the back is really difficult to come off. And then these drawers, I realized if I do them this way, they come out farther than these drawers. So I was gonna have to figure out how to make a shelf that covered the top of this, because there's a gap there. And then I also would have had to take off the entire back to do it. because I couldn't fit one piece to make the shelf through these holes. So I thought on it and thought on it, looked at some pictures, and I think what I'm gonna do instead, is I'm going to do the shelves on the bottom. And I think it looks weird now, I think, because there's no legs on it. But once the leg's on, I'm gonna open up that whole bottom right there, and I'm gonna have it open out too. So it's like, there's no back to it. And I think that it'll look cool. So I'm gonna get started on that. So the first thing I need to do is I need to remove these tracks. All right, so what I was trying to explain earlier is this piece fits over this piece. So I would have to, first of all, unscrew the top. I would have to take this piece off if I wanted the shelves on the top. And I think that it just looks better because the way the shelves are lined up, the missing one is the bottom one. And you can tell from there's a finished one on the very top that the lines are different. So I think it'll be a lot easier for me to pry these pieces off, and then I can replace those later. So that's what I'm gonna, and then I'm gonna cut across the back here and make this open. Okay, so again, I somehow missed pushing play. So I turned this around, and I've already taken out the staples, and I had to cut back these pieces, which I just used a chisel and cut it back enough so I could pull this off. So I measured up from the front to see where I needed to cut this, and now I'm using my what is this called? Multi-purpose tool to cut it. So I've got my safety glasses on, I've got my earwear. What I've got here is I've got some supports, which I'm gonna probably take out for now. And then I'll replace them after I do the back, because I want this back piece to be all one piece. So I'm gonna see how I need to get these out. So this is one full piece all the way up, so I don't want to remove it all the way. So I'm gonna see if I can just maneuver things around it. Might be tricky, but these are pretty snug. I thought it was behind there, but it's not. So. I'll just take that out. And I'll probably just replace that. So now I've got the whole thing off. I can just get these unhooked. And then I can just put them in later. I'm back again. So I did decide to turn this over, and it was pretty light, so I was able to do it myself. So these are just thin pieces of wood. I really don't know what purpose they serve. So what I'm thinking is just taking this whole piece out and replacing it with a piece of plywood that looks nicer. Of course, I don't think I have anything, so I'm gonna have to probably go to the store. It's just like a brittle piece of, I'm not sure why that's even on there. Okay, I flipped it back over because I am thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some 1/2 inch plywood, and then I'm going to piece them together because I don't have enough, and I want to use what I have. So I'm going to use 1/2 inch plywood, and I'm going to screw it into the front and the back. And then I'm going to do the sides. Actually, I'm not going to do the sides with plywood. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to build up the sides a little bit so that I can put a 1/4 inch piece of plywood. And then I'm going to go get a 1/4 inch piece of plywood because it's cheap. It's like, I don't know, 20 bucks for a 4x8 piece. And then I'm going to cover the whole thing with the 1/4 inch plywood, and the top and the bottom. And then I'm going to have to look in the front and see how I'm going to band that. Okay, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my first thought is I'm going to put some braces down here. And then I will screw the plywood into that. And then I'm going to put a piece of plywood over the top. So I have this piece of plywood. I'm going to put that over the top of it. And then in the front, I'm going to band it. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So I got to figure out, I need to make sure that this is flush with the front when I do this. So I'm going to find some pieces of wood that I can use to support that. Okay. All right. Sorry about my very messy workbench, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make some pocket holes in these braces that I cut. So I have my Craig jig here. This is an older model, but I don't see any reason to upgrade when it works. So I just clamp it to my bench, and then it comes with a bit that you want to measure and make sure it's the same depth as your piece of wood, which I've already done. So this is 3/4 of an inch. This is set at 3/4 of an inch. And then you just make your pocket holes. I bought this, I don't know, probably at least 10 years ago. And it works just fine. So the newer models are a little nicer, but I don't see any reason to upgrade when it works. All right, I've got all my pieces done, and I've got my 1 1/4 inch pocket screws that I'm going to use. I'm moving back to my piece. Okay, so now I'm going to put these boards in that I cut. So what I've got is a spacer board. So this is the same thickness as the board that I'm going to use. Sure. Yep. Okay, so this is the same thickness as the board I'm going to put on top, but I want to make sure that this is even with the front. I mean, if I have to put a little bit of a shim in there, it'll be okay, but I really just want to make sure I keep it as even as possible with the front of it. So I have this spacer here, and then this will fit right here. So, all right, got my wood glue. I've got my 3/4 inch screws. I've got the square bit that comes with the Craig. All right, line it up. I'm not going to put them all the way in, just to make sure that I keep them lined up. But right.
When you've lost your way, oh, the first time your heart breaks, I'll pick up the pieces and put them back together.
Okay, so I was trying to figure out how I would need to put a piece of plywood here, and it's not the same level, so I needed to build this up a little bit, and it's not supportive, so all I did was cut some 1x4s to fit here, and so I'm just gluing them in pretty much, and then using a brad nailer to just hold them. That just make sure if you use a brad nailer that you don't use too long of a brad or too long of a nail. Make sure that it isn't going to go through to the other side. So I'm just using like 4 of them just to keep it in place, and then I will be able to take my 1/4 inch plywood, and I'll be able to nail it into that, and then it'll look finished. So I'm gonna do the other side. All right, so I measured my first piece of plywood, and I need it to be 12 1/4 inches. So I'm using my Craig rip cut to cut this, and of course I'm doing it the wrong way. So you just want to follow a tutorial online for this. but this is the best way I've found to cut plywood. So it gives a really good straight cut, and it doesn't rip up your plywood. You have to use the right blade. I've also seen people do like tricks like putting masking tape around the edge so it doesn't tear it. Make sure when you do this you're wearing the proper safety equipment, and then here we go. All right, we're back to the back again. Make sure that it fits. And it fits perfect. Yay! I need to cut one more piece right here. Right here, I need to cut that piece. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, you probably can't see, but I have cut a piece of plywood. I just used the same method that I used to cut the 1/2 inch. And I have notched out a little, these areas that go around the rails. This is just the 1/4 inch plywood. And now I'm just fitting it in here. And there's some places I'm gonna have to patch. I haven't decided if I'm gonna paint this, so I'm getting this set and making sure it's flush with this front part, because I'm gonna put a piece of banding here, veneer banding. So that looks pretty good. Clamp it here first. That's gonna work. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get some paint cans and set them in there. Make sure it stays level, because I don't think I want to nail it, because if I nail it, you're gonna see the holes. And if I decide I want to I want to leave it wood, I'd rather not have it nailed. So I'm gonna just put some paint cans all the way across the back that are heavy enough that give it some weight. All right, while the base, or while the shelf is drying, I'm gonna work on these drawers and see how they clean up. I just have my carbide scraper here. It's really, it makes a terrible sound, so. Okay, so I'm now ready to give this a good scuff sand. So I'm gonna sand the top down to the raw wood, but the rest of it I'm going to just do a scuff sand because I'm gonna paint that part. So the frame I'm painting, and so that I'm just gonna do like a 120 grit on just to give it the paint something good to adhere to. Oh, well, I'm gonna prime first, but so I'm gonna get started sanding. All right, I've got this all taped off. Sorry, I didn't film that part. I figured you just want to tape off whatever sections you don't want to paint. So I don't really care if I get any paint on the inside of the top two drawers. So I've got the top taped off with paper, the bottom taped off because I'm not quite sure if I'm going to paint that or leave it the raw wood. And then the rest of it I'm going to paint. So I'm not using a primer this time because I'm using black. So I'm gonna see how it covers. I'm hoping that it'll cover without having any issues, but I'm gonna get to it. So I already have my sprayer loaded with paint. I'm using a paint that I previously used. Okay, I've got one coat of paint on this, and when I look at it, you can see the grain. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fill that so it looks more smooth. So it might be kind of hard to see the grain in this light, but so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use some Dixie mud. And I'm using Dixie mud because they have this in black, and I just don't want to end up, if I don't use black, the white will show through in places. It's just harder to cover. So to fill the grain seems excessive, I know, but you just want to go against the grain first And then you want to, see, just took the paint right off. I'm going to want to use it. Actually, I've never used Dixie mud to fill green, and it's like scraping off the paint. So I think I'm gonna switch to my other wood filler. So I'm gonna switch back to my premium wood filler. This is great for filling grain. It actually is made specifically for, you can customize it, or you can use it as a wood filler or filling the grain. So again, I just go against the grain. Kind of thinking I should have used I'm doing it too. Probably should have used a primer on this. Or I should have done this first. All right, so I guess it didn't matter if I used, which one I used. I'm just going to try and be more gentle. Maybe use a plastic one. I'm going to just switch to this plastic one. Maybe it won't be so harsh on the paint, because I think my weather is not great here, so my paint is not drying very fast. So. sorry, I might have missed a couple of steps with this. I was having some trouble with the plywood on the bottom peeling up, so I had to fill it with Bondo and some spackle just to make it all smooth. And then I was going to stain it, but I had to paint it because of the peeling veneer. So I didn't show that. Sorry, I should have, but I've been super busy trying to get my shop set up. So I just been trying to get pieces done. And this one's started out a big project, and it has not been an easy project. So right now I'm going to go ahead and peel this paper off, and then I'm going to put the drawers in, and I think it's ready for a coat of poly that I have. So this has been painted black, the base of it, the frame of it, and then it's had 2 coats of poly. So I'm just going to see how the top looks with it and get the drawers set into it and the feet on. Now, hopefully I didn't get any paint on the top because I'd already stained it before I realized I was going to have to paint the bottom, because I was really hoping to leave that wood too, but I think this is going to look better in the end. Now I went ahead and did the poly on the base and the shelf there first because I wanted to tint that. So I just tinted the poly with some paint, some black paint, just so that you don't get a bunch of, if you don't tint poly with the black paint or any kind of dark paint, you'll see kind of like it looks like a film on it. So it's good to tint your poly if you are painting something with a darker color. All right, I think that's looking really good. So on the bottom of this, you can see where I have these braces here. And I just want it to look more finished. So I'm going to take a piece of plywood and I'm going to cut it down and fit it. All right, I cut this to fit the bottom, and I'm just going to put some wood glue on the braces because that's the only part that it's actually going to be touching. This is not for support at all. It's just basically so that when somebody turns it over, you don't see a big hole. All right, I got this bottom part trimmed out, and now I'm just gonna put the feet on. All right, this is done. I know I missed a few steps. I forgot to film putting the handles on. But you saw me put the poly on this. I've done 2 coats. I am super, super happy with how this turned out. I am in love with this. What do you think? Leave me a comment. Tell me what you think of this. Remember, this was in the dumpster and it was missing a drawer. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.